Hi there, thank you for coming to this TED Talk. My name is Thomas Axtell, and I'm an undergraduate in the ESRM program, Environmental Science program at the University of Washington in Seattle. I'm from Seattle, and I have to say my favorite part about this city is the parks, how easy it is to get out of the city. It has a wide array of green spaces, um, large parks on the water, within the city, and it's just so much fun. I grew up spending a lot of time in these parks, having picnics with my family, watching the sunset, going on walks and runs with my dog. Um, and I can honestly say that I think this time outdoors played a big role in my decision to study environmental science, to study ways to protect the outdoor environment that is becoming less healthy, and just less of it in general from human activity and human development. Um, I kind of used it as a way to escape life, um, going on runs, swimming in Green Lake growing up, for example. I it, it was just so much fun. Such a good thing to have. And one of the more renowned parks in Seattle has a great view of downtown right on Lake Union there. It's called Gasworks Park. Um, and it's beautiful, open, green space with a large hill, to watch the sunset. I used to go there to watch the fireworks on 4th of July. Um, it's a really fun park. It's called Gasworks because there's a old oil refinery there, um, which is fun too. They have the smokestacks and everything. I always wanted to climb on it, but unfortunately it's fenced off. But it's a really fun park. And one thing, I remember going there on a summer day, and really wanted to hop in the water, but there were signs there along the water there that said it wasn't safe to swim in the water. Um, and come to learn that the park is still highly contaminated, um, as a result of the decades of the oil refinery. So that's why you can't swim in the water. And even like the puddles and stuff that come up, we'll get into it more later. But um, basically, I wanted to explore how this park could be made safe for visitors, and for wildlife and everything. And um, yeah, so I hope you enjoy this presentation. Thank you.
This is a presentation on the potential of phytoremediation as a method for restoration of Seattle's Gasworks Park. The coal-manufactured gas plant was built in 1907 and closed in 1956. It was acquired in 1962 from the Washington Natural Gas Company by the city of Seattle with the plans of turning it into a park.
The Great Mound was built up in 1974 when the park opened and restoration began so that visitors could observe the industrial gas plant transformed into a beautiful urban park. 5,000 cubic yards of, quote, the worst contaminated material was excavated off-site, and the park was capped with about 6 inches of age-dewatered sludge cake from Discovery Park combined with yard waste from the nearby transfer station. However, nearly 50 years later, continued monitoring of soil and water toxicity show that Gasworks Park, to this day, is far from restored.
When it rains, the water-soluble contaminants rise to the surface in puddles and leach through the groundwater into Lake Union. But these contaminants can't be that bad if the park is still open, can they? Well, to this day, plumes of tar, non-aqueous phase liquids or petroleum products, benzene, arsenic, and black carbon are all around the site. All are toxic and water soluble. Most are carcinogenic and mutagenic. Some are even air transmutable and serve as a respiratory hazard. The best option to restore the health and cleanliness of Gasworks Park is through phytoremediation. By planting native trees, shrubs, and grasses, you stabilize the soil and don't allow the toxins to leach into the puddles that our dogs drink and our children play in. The plants also take up the toxins into the stem and leaves and release them into the atmosphere, known as phytovolatilization, or even store them in the vacuoles or the cell walls of the leaves where they degrade over time, known as phytodegradation. For inorganic compounds that won't degrade, you can even harvest the plants and store them elsewhere, way easier than digging up tons of soil. One example of successful phytoremediation can be seen only 2 miles north in Union Bay Natural Area. This is a site of the Montlake landfill for over 50 years before being capped with clay and being turned into a parking lot in the 1970s. As a result, the soil was polluted with metals such as arsenic, chromium, and lead, asbestos, gasoline-range hydrocarbons and volatile organic compounds, or BTECs, diesel fuel and heavy oil-range hydrocarbons, polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, and polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs. Restoration began in the 1990s by planting native plants to form riparian buffers and filter out water before going into Lake Union.
And this is what it looks like now. An aesthetically pleasing park for humans and a healthy wetland habitat for wildlife, with functions such as natural drainage systems and riparian buffers to clean urban runoff as it enters Union Bay. Native aquatic plants also perform rhizofiltration, filtering out toxins that do end up in the water, making this wetland a healthy habitat for wildlife and humans alike.
An even more efficient method of remediation is endophyte-assisted phytoremediation. This takes advantage of plants' natural symbiotic relation with microbes that colonize root surfaces and interiors known as endophytes. Plants provide sugars in exchange for antimicrobial compounds, which provide pathogen resistance, nutrients and rooting hormones, which promote growth for the plant, and also enable the plant to tolerate heat, drought, and salty conditions. These endophytes also reduce phytotoxicity of the pollutants, allowing the plant to not only thrive in the toxic soil, but take up and degrade the pollutant at a far higher rate. Plants eagerly host endophytes, so all you need is the right bacterial strain for the specific contaminant or contaminants. Luckily, bacterial strains that are very efficient at breaking down virtually every major contaminant have been identified by Sharon Doty and others at the University of Washington. Research by Junwon Kang screened popular endophytes for tolerance to trichloroethylene, or TCE. He found that Enterobacter asburiae strain PDN3 was able to reduce the concentration of TCE to about 20% its original concentration in just 5 days. Dr. Sharon Doty confirmed the abilities of this strain in a field test. As you can see, the inoculated trees are growing far better than the control trees. And furthermore, the inoculated trees were able to reduce the concentration of TCE to about 0, whereas the control trees would take up the TCE, but it would remain in the stem, as you can see. This method of endophyte-assisted phytoremediation should be deployed at Gasworks Park, where a main challenge is the vast array of phytotoxic contaminants there. One contaminant of concern are PAHs, specifically phenanthrene, which is especially phytotoxic, so normal phytoremediation techniques wouldn't work because it would kill off the plants. The solution would be to inoculate plants with PD1, a strain of bacteria that rapidly degrades phenanthrene and enables plants to grow in soil contaminated with phenanthrene. A design proposed by Haley McKay in her 2016 thesis proposes planting trees and shrubs of choice areas of most concern and along park borders to prevent leaching. You'd be able to target specific contaminants using endophyte-assisted phytoremediation and leave space for open grassy areas. Nobody wants to have their day at the park ruined by the possibility that they or their children or pets may be poisoned by the puddles, lake, and the ground under their feet. This phytoremediation plan gives the city of Seattle an inexpensive opportunity to not only clean up a park and make it more beautiful in the process, but also gives Seattle the opportunity to pioneer a new, cleaner method of dealing with toxic pollution and to show the people of this incredible city that their health and well-being is important. Thanks so much for watching this presentation, and here is all the information that is cited in this presentation.
Thanks again for watching this presentation. I hope you learned something about how easy and cheap it can be to clean up an area, whether it's a park or any old industrial site, landfill, whatever it might be. you're really using nature to help nature, and you're able to make a park more beautiful in the process, because who doesn't like some more trees in the park? On a hot summer day, you want to be able to lay down in the grass, take a nap under the shade of a tree. You don't want to think about all the cancer-causing contaminants laying in the soil right beneath you. So I hope the take-home message here is that it really is achievable. All the technology exists, and it's a lot easier and healthier overall than the conventional methods of remediation. So there's just one way to clean up Gasworks Park and a lot of other sites like it, and it's a really good way to do it. So this is something that is really important to me. I hope to do a lot more work like this in the future, whether it's on the policy side of things, or I think what interests me more, honestly, is on the field side of things. So actually planting the trees, and making parks like Gasworks more beautiful and more accessible, to kids like me growing up, or anybody who just wants to go to the park for a nice day, swim in the water. I hope within my lifetime I'll be able to go to Gasworks Park and that sign reading, "Don't swim in the water," is no longer there. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned something. I had a good time making it, and I learned a lot myself. So thank you.